ABC 10 at Issue starts now.
Joining me now is marketing consultant Peter Horst. Peter Horst has led the marketing teams at Hershey, Capital One, and General Mills. Thanks for being with us.
Happy to be here. Thanks.
All right, so we got a whole lot going on in terms of the NFL in this season ahead. As we said, if you thought that this issue was over, it's really just beginning.
This has been a brand crisis that's been brewing for the past 18 months. And unfortunately, at this point, with the way the policy was announced and the content of it, it seems destined just to prolong the crisis and keep the conversation going, which is really the last thing the league or the teams want, especially at this time. The
league is supposed to be about playing football, but politics seems to be the focus of conversation.
Yeah, football used to be the great unifier. It was the place where everybody could come together, regardless of Democrat, Republican, rich, poor, urban, rural. But now, overnight, when Colin Kaepernick first took the knee, it became a hugely political hot potato, and even more so when President Trump weighed in with some of his really particularly spicy tweets. And suddenly, it's something that's pulled us apart. And teams and the NFL can no longer kind of sit on the sidelines of these social and political issues the way most organizations have in the past. And now they're really forced to put their values on display and make decisions about how will we handle these issues that have been thrust upon us.
Is this going to hurt teams? I mean, do they need to be very careful, especially in the season ahead, of what they say, what they do as it relates to this policy?
Well, they certainly need to be very careful, not least because right now they're in the season of busily trying to sell sponsorships and advertising time. So in many ways, this is the worst possible time to have made an announcement like this that seems designed to stir the controversy back up. But the good news and bad news about the policy is they leave a lot of latitude for teams to go their own way on this. The bad news, it means that there will be no unified front across all of football where all the teams in the league link arms and say, these are our values and therefore this is what we'll do. But the good news is it creates the opportunity for the local teams to say, these are our fans. And at the end of the day, people root for the Eagles, not for the NFL. So they will need to understand what do their fans believe, what do they care about. They'll need to listen to the players, and then also look deep within themselves to decide what values and beliefs are they going to stand up for and take flack for, because no one will agree on everything.
Speaking of the players, we heard what Philadelphia Malcolm Jenkins had to say about the new policy. We're getting word from defensive end Chris Long. He weighed in. Take a listen.
I think it was a dumb move, and I think it was clumsy, and I don't think it was rooted in patriotism. I love this country. I love our vets. I think it was driven by fear of a diminished bottom line, which I already wrote on Twitter.
Social media has been really the catalyst in a lot of ways for this movement to get some steam because people can react instantly.
There's been research that shows that nothing is more viral than rage and indignation. So when people post things that they're angry about, that gets reposted and it gathers steam. And it can cause real economic hurt to these organizations. They've learned how to do hashtag boycotts and demand that advertising be pulled. So social media as a lever to drive an agenda and hurt organizations in the cash register has become a real issue for them.
You have a new book out which really touches on this issue. It's called Marketing in the Fake News Era, New Rules for a New Reality of Tribalism, Activism, and Loss of Trust. So how do companies, big companies that have big dollars at stake, how do they navigate these waters?
Sure. Well, it used to be that you could sit on the fence, you could sit on the sidelines and just say, I don't participate in this kind of dialogue, I just make soup, I just make soap. But now more and more consumers want to engage with brands that share their values. And you really don't have the luxury of sitting on the sidelines. In addition, you never know when forces beyond your control will pull you into the spotlight, as the NFL was pulled in. They never had any intention to engage in political debate. So you need to start by saying, what are the values of this organization? What do we believe in? What is the broader purpose that we stand for? You can then make decisions about, do I want to be public about that and lean in and embrace a brand purpose the way, say, Dove has with Real Beauty? Or you can just say, you know what, I want to know who I am and be prepared to step out when I have to. But whatever you do, it has to be intentional. You can't just put your fingers in your ears and hope it will go away.
You and I were talking about this before we sat down. Silence, when you don't say anything, because you have the ability to tweet something out, put something out on Facebook, make a statement, it's right there at your fingertips. When you don't say anything as a company, that speaks volumes.
Yes. Well, they say nature abhors a vacuum, and the same is true with brands. So if you're a blank slate or a empty sheet of paper, other people will fill in what you mean and what you stand for, and they will not give you the benefit of the doubt. So generally speaking, people will say things about you and assume motivations about you that are negative, that you don't want. We've seen many examples of this where companies have not led with their values and their beliefs, and then when something happens, a misunderstanding or a bad action by an associate, then they're caught having to explain themselves without the benefit of having first said, this is who we are.
And something tells me that people will be watching what happens with the NFL in the coming season very, very closely. Peter Horst, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate your insight.
Thank you.